What's going on? We are back with another game review of a video game, of course, that just actually came out back on September 19th, 2023. So literally just like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago at this point. And the game in question is Lies of P. And gotta tell you, um, this game, I'm gonna just right off the front. If you're a big fan of like Dark Souls or Bloodborne, there's a good chance you will enjoy this game. Now, with that said, let's dive into a few um, features or concepts, whatever you want to call it, about this game that has a lot of people, including myself, kind of like on the fence about it. And we're going to cover the most important question near the end of whether or not this game is worth its price tag. Again, right now you can play this game on PlayStation 5, and Xbox, and PC. It is $69.99 at least at the recording of this, and we're going to talk about whether or not it's even worth that price point at the end. So stay tuned for that. But let's get into this. Right now, this game has received fairly great reviews overall. It has, and I've been playing it since it came out, and I can tell you, while I'm personally not a big fan of Dark Souls or Bloodborne, I do enjoy this game. Because who doesn't like just getting their ass handed to them by every freaking boss a million times over? It's still a great game, still fun. I love it. The mechanics of it definitely need improvement. They do need some work done on them, in my opinion, because I was facing a lot of enemies, of course. Majority of the enemies I'd be facing, it felt clunky. It felt scattered with the original setup of the button configuration. Now, I will start off by saying I do play, as many of you may or may not know, I play on PC, and my primary controller is keyboard and mouse. I do not play with an actual controller, traditional controller, too often, unless the game is more designed for those type of uh, controllers, I guess, handles. So just kind of take that, with a grain of salt, I guess. So as a keyboard and mouse player, it it felt a little scattered where button configuration didn't make a lot of sense. I did end up switching to a traditional Xbox controller, and it felt a little bit better, but still very clunky and scattered in a sense. And what I mean by that is I would often find that when I'm attacking, I guess let's pause for a second. When you attack or dodge, you do have stamina, and as your stamina goes down, you can't attack as quick. You can't dodge because you need that to do anything. Which, again, conceptually, amazing. I love that feature. I love that idea, as it makes a lot of sense because that's how it would happen too. You're not just gonna go in and hack and slash your way. No, 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 no. You had to be meticulous about this. Um, but the controls still felt weird and felt like there was a massive input latency where I literally would push the dodge button and maybe like half a second it dodged. So I switched the controller and it got slightly better, but still around half a second. It felt like, or not full half second. You get it. It took a little bit for input to register. And before anybody's like, well, it's because you don't have the latest parts. I do have the latest parts. I have all the latest computer parts in my system because that's what I do. Anyways, get back into it. So the controls did feel a little clunky and scattered, but after about several hours, close to 10, I did get used to it and it felt a little bit better, but still, again, I had to remap a bunch of buttons to make it work for me, and that was the only way it felt decent. Now, again, if you're used to Bloodborne and Dark Souls, it kind of fights the same. From my understanding, I own both those games. I can't get into them because I'm not a big fan of their stories. However, Liza P, that story is an interesting story. And nothing to take away from Dark Souls or Bloodborne, but this is a game that is very, very similar to those two overall. So again, if you like those two, you'll like Lies of P. But with that said, storyline of Lies of P. Basically, the premise of all this is you are Pinocchio. Geppetto made you, and you do have Jiminy to help you. You have a bunch of other people as well. I'm going to try not to give away too much of the storyline, too much of the plot, too much of any of that. Because if you, like I said, this game just came out 2 weeks ago, and as an adult who has a family and has a significant other, sometimes we can't play the games and play the story all the way through. It takes us some time, so I won't be giving any of the main plot points away. So let's just know that. But with that said, the story is amazing. I do love the story because it is a very dark and almost sinister twist on the Pinocchio storyline that we all should know. You know, if you're my age or older, you definitely know Pinocchio. You may not if you are younger. No offense. Yep. So it's a very, for me, I found it to be a very interesting storyline, interesting plot. I loved all of it. I love the story. I love the way it played out. I loved how certain aspects of the game, of the story, the original story, kind of is interweaved into it. In my opinion, damn near perfectly. I like it. I'm a big fan of this type of style where you do get some payback or paying homage to what came before in the sense of like the storyline. So I love that. I thought it was a very, very interesting way to do it, and very well done. Now, definitely play it for the story. The story is very slow to begin with. So just kind of be prepared. You're going to spend a few hours going to probably the most meticulous part of this entire freaking game is the beginning, because it's just very, very slow and tedious and methodical. Like it's so, that's not the right word. Don't use methodical. It's just very, very there. It's slow as hell, and that personally like bugged the ever loving shit out of me. Not because like I want to get going right away. Let's go, 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 go. It did lay the foundation, the framework for where the story, how the story progressed. So looking back at that, it was done well. I just don't think it needed to drag out as long as it did. I don't think so. I think they could have cut that down honestly in half, and still would have been a very long introduction. And I think it still would have been more than enough. So the first part that plays a heavy, or not even heavy, plays a slightly major role in the beginning though, is what weapon set you pick out. Of course, you have your big ass heavy sword that is slow but packs a powerful punch. You have your well balanced sword. You know, it's not super fast, it's not super powerful, but it gets the job done. It gives you a better feel for like which way you probably want to go, if you want to go with like the heavy sword. And then you have the rapier, and it's, that's not inappropriate. It is very, very fast, but it's not very powerful. So you're going to do a lot more attacking to get more damage. But again, you need that at times. So you have to start off with just picking one. And I will tell you, do not make the same mistake I did. Do not pick the heavy, powerful beast of a fucking weapon. Because, well, yes, it does pack a powerful punch. You move slower, you attack slower, and that first mini boss that you have, the first officer robot, because you are facing bots, you're facing puppets, robots. That first one whooped my ass so damn quick because I could not get off the blocks to save my life. So there is that. And then like the first actual major boss that you fight at the circus, again, whooped my ass. Now you can as the story progressed, even like between the beginning and the first actual major boss, um, you can purchase new weapons. You can purchase the speedier weapon. You can purchase the well balanced weapon. You can even purchase a different version of the heavy weapon, and that gives you the option to kind of switch out. And you can always carry two blades on you at any time to switch. And that's probably one of my favorite parts about it was I chose a the rapier and the heavy weapon, and that was purely just where I could go in, I could hack and slash really quick, and then after the opponent would do a heavy move where they basically not stun, but their recovery time was lengthy for them, then I would take out the big weapon, the heavy weapon. I'd go to town and just hammer on them, 3, 4 good swings, and then again switch back, rinse and repeat. Something that I didn't figure out until that first major boss after losing to him like a bunch of times. Let's not get into the semantics of how many exactly. Just know it's a lot. It's more than a dozen. Grenades or throwables, freaking buy that shit. Every chance you get, buy it, equip it, and the equip slots that you do have two. I forget if they have different names, but basically top and bottom, and each one can have 3 different slots. So you get a total of 6 slots that you can equip things to, and then you get your extra bag slots, which has 4. So all in all, you get 10 things you can carry right away. And I would highly encourage you to purchase any type of grenades you can, or any type of throwables you can, and then when you find them as well, you do gain um, resources fairly quickly. Uh, each time you kill somebody or eliminate an enemy, you do gain that resource back fairly quickly. The more powerful, the more resources. And I know I didn't say this at the beginning, but there is, again, if you play Bloodborne and you play Dark Souls, there's no difficulty level at the beginning. It's just the game. You just go. So you're not picking easy, you're not picking normal, you're not picking hard or legendary. It's just go right away. Which for some is a deterrent. Others, it's like, cool, this is how games used to be. So just kind of keep that in mind. But so you gain experience fairly quickly, and your enemies often drop loot as well, whether it is useful loot that you can like actively use, or it's just shit you need to sell. Either which way, a lot of the loot early on, sell it and get resources so where you can level your guy up really quickly. I literally, from the beginning to the first true boss at the circus, um, I died like just a ton. Those type of games, you just die a bunch. It's the game. But anyways, I finally, after I got to that first boss, I ended up dying, I think like 4 or 5 times, where I just kind of said, "F it, I'm done. I'm going to go and level up." And the one of the coolest features or nicest features that I personally like about this game is there's an observatory. I don't think that's the proper word. Now that I say it out loud. No. Yes, I don't know. There's that checkpoint, and every time you go to that checkpoint and you use it, this is where like you can upgrade your character, or you can alter stuff as well. You can't purchase anything. You upgrade yourself in inventory. But every time you click on that thing, all the enemies in that area reset. Just like if you die, you go back to the last checkpoint. Again, I think it's observatory. I'm drawing a blank on the technical name. Stargazers. There we go. They're called stargazers. Anyways, so stargazers are the checkpoints, and every time you go to that or you die, you respawn. You go back to the stargazers, and again, all the enemies pop up again. So literally, the first thing, again, after dying several times at the main boss, the first big boss, I literally would go around and clear the area, and then I'd go back to the stargazer, Upgrade if I could. If I could, I just go into the Stargazer, get out, and then go back, eliminate all the surrounding enemies. I rinse and repeated this for probably close to 2-3 hours just to get my character to where I felt comfortable to go back and defeat or attempt to defeat the first big boss. Didn't really help because I didn't fucking put my attribute points correctly where they should have been. It took a lot of me kind of Googling and researching myself on where I should put all these attributes because there wasn't a lot of there wasn't really any information given on those perspectives inside the game. So I had to go find it first to see exactly how it plays out and how it will affect my gameplay. Especially if I was using a heavy weapon versus a well-balanced weapon versus a light weapon, I had to know which ones I use. Right around that time is also about when I figured out I need to fucking buy this throwables because the throwables do a lot of damage. You do have your Molotovs, so to speak, type grenades. You have electrical grenades. You have a plethora of different varieties, and each one does something different and impacts the enemy differently too. Now, speaking of enemies, taking a break and just talking about the enemies in general, they are very unimaginative, if that makes sense. Basically, anything that could be an enemy gets made into a puppet/robot, and it's just not very, in my opinion, and tons of others as well, it's not very creative. It came across kind of type thing of, oh, you worked on all this amazing artwork and all the graphics and art, and it's I love it. I love it. I love the graphics and artwork too, and Dark Souls and Bloodborne. I think all that's done excellently. But Liza P, the enemies just did not feel creative. They didn't feel imaginative. They just felt very oh, hey, here's a British officer. Let's turn him into a puppet. Cool. You do have dogs you have to fight early on, and I saw that is one of the funniest reviews I've read about that one. That specific aspect of your enemies is there being a dog. They didn't like that. I will say I'm indifferent on that. I thought it was long term wise, okay, it makes sense. Please have police dogs. It's fine, but it's fine. The dogs are also robotic, just so you're aware. Everything that you're facing is a puppet/robot. So it's not like you're having to concern yourself with being real people. But overall, the enemies are lackluster. So maybe they revamp it, maybe they add more. I don't know. It's a virtually complete game. There's not a lot there. My understanding is there's not a lot that's going to be added on to it over time. Minor tweaks and adaptations being made. It's fine because that's just what happens with these types of games. There's just not a lot to make with it. But I love the game, even though I died fucking billion goddamn times. I still enjoy the game. The story is amazing. I do love it. If you like the Pinocchio storyline, just in general, but more of the Brothers Grimm version, less roids. Oh, it's a great storyline. Love it. The enemies are fucking wicked strong. I don't know how to put it other than that. There are some enemies the British officers. They're just they're easy, 2-3 hits. Then you have ones that have ranged weapons like a gun, and they're a little bit more well placed, well hidden within inside the game. There would be oftentimes where I'd be in the middle of a battle where it's 2 or 3 enemies, and especially earlier on, 2 or 3 enemies, and then there's a long range or mid range, whatever. There's an officer with a pistol up on a freaking balcony I didn't even know you could get to because I didn't see the steps or whatever. And there's really not much you can do unless you go find those steps, go up them, and attack them. Which you can. I think there's only one spot I didn't find an access way, and that lies more on me just getting frustrated at that point and saying, fuck it, I'm done, just running away from this area. versus actively trying to like find every access point, find every hallway, find every. Nah, that's screw that. Because again, this game really tested my patience and me not trying to get frustrated, especially since I was live stream on a few playthroughs or gameplay sessions. There we go. But it was like I played for the story. That was my big thing. I want to play a story, the mechanics, and all that. But it it operates smoothly with the exception again the controls. I was not a big fan of the control layout, the button layout. The fact that if you do use keyboard and mouse, I highly recommend you take some time and map your buttons or remap them so it better suits your um, hand layout on your keyboard. If you have a mouse with additional buttons other than like left and right click, map those suckers too. Just to make it a little bit easier on yourself. Like I map my dodge to a additional mouse button because the original dodge button on my keyboard is the left control button, which is not really like to me an ideal key that should be used. I don't think any of the alt or control buttons should be used on any game, but that's just me being very, very nitpicky about it. Your character development is like by far one of the best I've seen in a long time. Jimny's role, which in this game, Jiminy Cricket kind of like it's Jiminy, and he can help relight areas and make it brighter. You also combat, holy fucking space on that one, because we're talking about enemies and other stuff. I'm just fucking space. This is not scripted, guys. I'm just going down with what I can remember or all that shit. So bear with me. The probably one of the most interesting aspects features of combat that is intriguing for me, and I often see when looking at reviews and seeing if I'm the one of the few that enjoy this, or if this is a big missed feature that a lot of people just hate, is the sharpening of your weapons because your weapon does become dull. So you do have to sharpen it, and you use your robotic arm to sharpen it. Again, this is a slot feature that you have to keep equipped, and you sharpen your blade and you go back. But it dulls down really quick. Your health potions as well. You every time you go Stargazer, you get to refill it up to 3. When you use them, you still can gain more during combat when you attack the enemy with your weapons. Not a throwable. I did not ever see my my healing component ever grow at all when doing throwables or anything outside of a hack and slash type attack. So just kind of be aware of that. So you have to be very meticulous about when you use that and how to use it, because it does take a good chunk of your health. And then even if you don't pull it off in time, you have to get out of combat a little bit, because if you get hit, you can't use your health. It's not instantly done right away. It does take a second to 2 seconds to complete the action in the game. But outside of that, the combat's easy to grasp. It's just you're going to get your ass kicked. So do not go into the game thinking, I'm the shit, I'm so good at these type of games. No, you're fucking not. You're not. Chill out. Get off the mountain. Calm the fuck down. This game is meant to be difficult. This game is meant to be frustrating. This game is meant to just test your patience. Like Dark Souls and Bloodborne. Now, why is it called, or not why is it called? Liza P, since it is about Pinocchio, that is your character, there's a interesting concept and feature inside the game that drastically changes your entire story. And again, from my understanding, from everything I've seen, there's 3 endings. And the easiest way to explain it is inside the game, you do get to make choices to lie or be honest. Now, you don't get to make these choices like right away. They happen after the very slow burn of an intro to the bloody game. But if you lie, parts of you becomes more robotic, puppet like. which changes, attacking capabilities. You upgrade your body, versus if you're honest, you stay kind of what you are now. And so, therefore, you have three endings. Again, my understanding, I've completed it playthrough once. I have no desire to play this game a second time right now. So I just finished up yesterday as of this recording. So just do with that as you will. I will play this game again. Definitely has replayability. Don't get me wrong. I'll more on that at the end. So there's key moments that can change the whole game. But again, you're going to lead to 1 to 3 endings. You're going to have you were very dishonest. You were a liar, basically, most of the game. You're going to have that type of ending. You were well balanced, 50-50 type thing, telling the truth and lying. And then you virtually never lied. Those are 3 ending concepts that I've seen from other people playing and from other reviews. And I have not played all 3 endings. I've played 1. And the fact that and you can see this, you can look in the reviews there. It's, I believe it was part of the trailer or a fan-aid trailer, but there's a moment in the game where there's a woman looking for her baby, and you go and find the baby. Come to find out, it's a doll. You are put in a position where you have to choose to lie or tell the truth. Telling the truth will devastate this woman. Lying does nothing to the woman. It just keeps her a little delusional, thinking this is a baby. So, but the choice that you make between those two basically changes your body, because if you lie, you become more puppet-like / robot-like. But if you tell the truth, you just kind of upset the woman. And again, that still changes because now you're telling the truth and you're destroying somebody's basically whole world. Not theoretically speaking, sorry. Metaphorically, there we go. Metaphorically speaking. But you have moments like that where it's so, I guess, nice to see again inside of a game. Fable was probably one of the most one of the biggest games that's synonymous with good and evil, because you could either be a super villain like character in Fable, or you could be a super good guy in a hero in Fable, or there's a middle ground too. So aspects like that put inside of a game just make the game more enjoyable. It also makes it easier to get along with and play with inside of it, and makes the replayability there, because now you can go back and you be like, all right, I believe or I know I lied to this character, so let's tell the truth, or vice versa. And you can kind of alter your storyline as well, alter who you interact with and how it all plays out, how the ending happens. And it's a refreshing aspect to finally have back inside of a game. I know there's others out there, but as for like AAA or even AA games, it's far and few in between. And we've talked about this in a podcast. I've talked about it with Roggle several times in our video game episodes, where I've made mention and even talked about that we're going to start seeing an uptick in single player games, and we're going to start seeing an uptick in story based games, and we're slowly starting to already see it. And they're fully complete games too, where it's not like you need these DLCs, you need these additional content crap in order to progress through the game. It's finished. Anything that does come out just enhances what's already there, but you don't need anything extra. You can play the game as is, and it's fine. All the extra stuff does nothing really other than just make it a little bit better. The story's still going to be the same. The ending's still going to be the same. The play's still going to be the same. It's just more cosmetics. So that is such a refreshing aspect to have inside of a game. Whereas, again, I talk shit on this game even though I play it. That's kind of Call of Duty's biggest issue, is it's not just like, you can't just buy the game and have everything. No, you buy the game and then there's meta classes. So things that are super powerful that week, then they get nerfed or they get buffed. And it's all in like DLCs too, or DLC that you can get, whether you buy, the Lockwood 3,300 because it's super meta right now at the time of this recording. So there's a one you can buy that's already set up to go. Like that type of crap is is so heavily saturated inside the gaming universe right now. Um, it's just it's toxic in my opinion. Like it's useless. It's toxic. It does nothing but just ruin the game and the majority of its aspect when you look at the overall features of it. Whereas like Lies of P, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Tina's Wonderland, and many more, where they're just finished. You're good to go. Get it, go, done. You don't have to purchase these DLCs. You don't have to purchase weapon classes or anything. So, and that's my big thing, and I've been very vocal about it. Is I prefer single player games. I'm not a big multiplayer game player. I will play them. I do enjoy them, but if it's single player game with a very rich story versus a multiplayer game, I will take single player game, and we're starting to see a shift in that as well. But that's not what we're here talking about. Sorry, rabbit hole. I went. Liza P is everything, virtually everything that we're gonna start seeing, with the exception of like fucking just getting your ass handed to you. It's a damn near not. I can't say it's near perfect game. That would be a lie. That'd be a false lie. Because again, there's certain aspects of the game that the storyline, while yes, is amazing, there's holes in it. The combat is great. The stamina feature depletes way too quick. And yes, you can improve that. You can upgrade that. I get it. But depletes too quickly. I love that there is no level, like difficulty level. But on the flip side, I don't like it. Especially for someone who may just want to play the story aspect of it, the story mode of it. There is no story mode difficulty. It's just get your ass handed to you, struggle, and become better. So it's a catch 22 game. It really is. There's a lot of great things, but then the flip side of them is also true very quickly. I will say, with the exception of the graphics and the artwork, like that's just fucking amazing. I love it. The eye for detail on so many things is amazing. The lore that happens within it by finding snippets of pages and books and all that is amazing, and that you get more in depth. And it's one that I feel like it benefits you to read that stuff. Take the time to read it so you know more what's going on. Enjoy that, and then just the overall, like the visuals of it, just great. I love it. The visuals I would give like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. There's still minor tweaks, and that's just me being nitpicky about certain things, and because the enemies are very lackluster. But overall, the game, if you're a big fan of Dark Souls and Bloodborne, I think you would love this game. It's more of a Bloodborne wannabe than it's a Dark Souls. I know there's people like, there's not much of a difference. No, there's a difference. All right. And I'm not the only one that thinks it. I'm not. There's plenty of other people who you can go and see real quick who are like, it's not like Dark Souls and more like Bloodborne. And they can each have their justification. It's fine. Again, this is just my opinion on the game. I've been playing. I beat it one time through already. There are lots of fucking hours played on it. I'm not gonna get into that either because that just makes me sound like I don't have a life. At times I don't. So, but overall, the game, I would give the game probably like a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 at most. I know the meta score on it's about an 80 to an 85. I think it's a little high. Again, there's a lot to love about the game, but there's a lot to like nitpick at, and it's some are more important to others, and vice versa. For me, like the controls, I'm not a big fan of any game that the controls, whether keyboard and mouse or on an actual controller, like an Xbox or PlayStation controller, I'm not a big fan of having to remap my keys, especially for keyboard and mouse, again, because that's my primary way I play games on my PC. I'm not a big fan of that. If I had to take the time and remap the key bindings, it doesn't piss me off, but it's a nuisance, and it's one of those things of like I know I have to play the game a little bit to figure out what key binding works best for me, which means I now have to like Let me change my dodge button to a letter. Nope, that doesn't work either. Okay, let me change my mouse. Perfect, that works. All right, let me change. How do I switch my weapons? Oh, it's this button. Let me alter it to this button or that button instead. It's a lot of trial by error really quickly. Um, so I did spend a good chunk of time, probably like an hour or two, fine tuning my key bindings. Again, this is me being nitpicky. Uh, but if you play on keyboard and mouse, which you can do on consoles if you choose to, uh, and even on like my controller, I had to change a couple key bindings on that one because it just better suited me. I'm not a big component on that feat like on that. I don't think you should have to. I think it should be pre-mapped, damn near perfect. Um, and I do think that's where I would highly recommend developers or studios to take the time to, when you release it in alpha or stress test, or even beta, if you made it, like if it's almost getting ready to go out, is to get a large group, not a few hundred, not a few thousand. We're talking like 100,000 plus people, or I guess 50,000 plus people, and get the visual input to see how it looks from a eye view standpoint, like as though you're standing above the person, because it's just the mapping does not make sense. And looking at the key bindings, you're like, okay, well, okay, I get why they would do that. They're trying to utilize the whole left side of the board, but Control and Alt buttons, for me, I don't think should be used. You have Z through B on the bottom row, use it. You have A through G, Q through T. Like, if you're looking at a keyboard, you understand what I mean by this, because it sounds like I don't know my fucking alphabet, but I promise you, it's how a keyboard's laid out. A traditional keyboard is laid out. So it's key mapping, key binding does for me take it down a peg. So I would say if you play keyboard mouse, be aware of it. Take some time to actually remap your buttons to best suit you and your play style. But then there's other things where, like, I saw people were not a big fan of the farming aspect, so the experience, finding all the resources and having to like go to Stargazer, defeat enemies, go back to Stargazer, defeat enemies. Like, yes, that is super fucking boring. But I tell you what, though, after getting my handed to me again, the first boss, like real boss, kind of set me up for success for the rest of it, because I literally sat there. There was one stream where I played, I think, for like 3 or 4 hours before I went and got my kid, and it clicked. You saw it about halfway through me going, I'm gonna just farm all the experience, but it makes such a difference. So if you're a streamer, don't do that on stream. That's fucking boring. No one wants to see you do that. Go defeat enemies, go Stargazer, defeat enemy, go Stargazer. No, take the time off stream and do it. But definitely spend the time and do that grind, do that farming for a while. It will be worth your time, I promise you, because you will be able to level your shit up quicker. Now leveling up, because I know I haven't really touched on that yet. And there's gonna be a lot of things I probably don't touch on that you're like, well, wait a minute, what about that? What about that? These are priorities that I personally have for games. That's why it's an opinionated review, because it's my opinion. If you have questions about a specific item in the game, or you want a perspective on a different storyline or side quest, that type of stuff, yeah, definitely drop it down below. Say in the comments. Hit us up on social media. Let us know. I have answers. I have my own personal answers for all that. I just don't think it needs to be an episode because they're minor features, I guess. At least to me. But the leveling up system is very short-sighted. So what I mean by that is, if you have all your attributes at, let's say, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, all 6 levels, 6 levels at 10, the next point will cost the same no matter where you put it. So let's say you have it going like 20, 10, 7, 5, 15, 31. No matter where you put that next point, it will cost the same amount. And that's what I mean by short-sighted, or that's the wrong term. It's more tasking, and you definitely have to be, um, you cannot be short-sighted. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. You can't be short-sighted. You have to look at it long-term wise, but at the same time, if you're playing for the first time, you don't know what's coming up, so you're going with what you think works best for you. So take the time, go do some research on what each one of those attributes means and how it helps you long-term wise, because they're like, when you update it or upgrade your attributes, it does tell you on the right hand side like how much the hit points go up, or how much defense you get, how much health, how much carrying capacity you get, but you don't know how that plays out long-term wise. So like for me, I leveled up a lot of my attacks, because there's 2 or 3 that you can level up that impacts your attacks, either directly or indirectly. And then I did spend time leveling up my capacity so I can carry more stuff, because the more stuff you can carry, the faster you move as well. And then also focus on your stamina. Like, I would ground pound the shit out of stamina and your attack, and then focus on your either your arm or your carrying capacity, just so where you have like better use of all that for the longevity of the game, for the story base of the game. But overall, it is a great game. I personally like it. Again, 6.5 out of 10, 65 out of 100, however you want to phrase it, 67, 60 to 70. I do mark it a little bit lower than the overall Metascore that you can go and find on Google or Bing or Yahoo, wherever you search. And that's just solely because the I'm just not a big Dark Souls and Bloodborne fan. I played this more for the story. The story is very amazing. I love it. But also the key mapping really just kind of felt dirty. The lack of imagination when it came to these bosses or the enemies felt very, very stagnant, and like they didn't really try that hard. And with everything being a puppet, oh, they had the opportunity to make things go crazy and make things go wild and make things look fucking creepy as shit. There are some of those, but there's not a lot, in my opinion. But overall, this game's a good game. I highly recommend it. If you're not into having your patience tested, don't buy it. Like, just flat out, don't buy it. If you're not big into hack and slash or strategy games, and I highly say this is, I would highly consider this a strategy game. 100%. Because you do have to be very logical about your attributes and what you upgrade and how you upgrade and how you go about everything, along with like lying or telling the truth. Like, there's just a lot of features to it. Overall, those are kind of like my key takeaways, key moments for them. But at the same time, the biggest question that so many people either ask others or ask themselves will be whether or not it's worth it. And that honestly, for me, is the biggest thing, because cost means everything. So if you're on PlayStation, the price I believe is $69.99 here in the US. Here in the US, again, we record in the US, so price points are always dollars. $70 for the game. Same with Xbox. However, Xbox has the added benefit of Game Pass. If you're on PC, Game Pass $9.99, $10. If you have PC and Xbox, or you want the gold membership so you can play online, it's $18. So, do I think it's worth the $70? No. Very few games do I believe are worth $70, especially with everything being digitally released. I'd have a hard time justifying $70 for a digital game where I'm not paying for any art, cover art, any hard covers, any CD or DVD. Like, it's all digital. I think we had a whole episode about that. If we didn't, we're gonna have one, because it's a very big point, and there's a lot of stuff going on around that too. But with that said, it's not worth $70. It's not. I don't think it's worth $50. If you have an Xbox or a PC, I Game Pass. Game Pass the ever loving shit out of that game because it's worth that. It's definitely worth like $20. It's definitely worth 30. It's definitely worth 40. 50 is like kind of my pushing point. 60, I guess I could justify to a degree. I don't think it's worth the initial cost. I see this game real quick being discounted, especially with the holiday season kicking into effect already. We're going to see a lot of games get discounted. Whether or not this is going to be a game that gets discounted only like $10, still better price. Um, I can foresee this game being 50% off by Christmas, by December. So wait till then. Your call. This is up to you. It's your money, your finances, your budget's not mine. I'm just saying I use Game Pass for this. And I know a lot of people, even when I stream and let people know I use Game Pass, the first thing I often hear is, well, you don't know what it's like to pay $70 for it. You're right. And that's what made me play the games I could get on Game Pass. When the game was announced, I was excited beyond belief for this game. When I saw the price tag, I went, I ain't paying fucking $70 for it. I will wait till the holidays and I will pay the holiday pricing on it of, $35 or $40. Especially since I do everything digitally. Game Pass is such a lifesaver. I really wish PlayStation would have that. And I know people are like, well, they kind of do. No, they do, but they don't type thing. Um, and this is not me being a like Sony hater. I love PlayStation. I love their consoles. I love their controllers. Like that's my go-to controller. That's what I've had. Can't say grew up on. I grew up on Nintendo. Um, but that is my go-to. Now, since being PC, I cannot justifiably explain why PlayStation still feels like it's behind the curve on that. And they're getting ready to change their whole tier package too, so maybe they'll come to it. But I feel like there's more of a value with Game Pass, and there's a lot of games that are coming to it, and there's rumors and speculation, and we'll address it as they come of Call of Duty coming to Game Pass. So we'll see, but we're off on a tangent right now. Not really talking about Lies of P so much. So let's wrap this up. Should you get Lies of P? Yes, I think everybody should play it. It is definitely a different game out there. If you're big into Dark Souls or Bloodborne, I think you'll love it. If you want to like tiptoe in the sand to games like Bloodborne and Dark Souls, check out Lies of P. Because I think it's gonna sound mean. Sounds like it feels like a downgrade version of Bloodborne. And Dark Souls like number one, Bloodborne number two, and then Lies of P is like 4 or 5. On like realm of difficulty and struggle. So Lies of P is a good introduction to that type of gameplay and that type of style. So I definitely recommend anybody who's big into those type of games or who have been considering those type of games, check it out. I had a lot of fun playing it. A lot of it did not get streamed off my channel because there was just a lot of frustration on my part. But that is what kept me going back for the game, is that I knew it wasn't another player's fault that I was dying. I knew it wasn't out of my control. It was purely me having to be more strategic about how I went about playing the game, how I went about leveling my character up, how I went about choosing the proper weapons, what weapons to have attached, and how I had additional add-ons to increase that what I wore. Like there's just a lot to it. So I knew that was all on me, and those type of games always keep me around because I know it's in my control. I love those type of games. I love when it's put in the player's control of, get you suck or get good type thing, get good or quit. Whereas even Call of Duty, Destiny 2, any online, Fortnite, Apex, you can be a good player, but there's going to be someone who's just better, and there's not a good way to master anything on those, because there's always going to be someone that's better, or there's always going to be hackers and cheaters, or there's always going to be a lucky drop shot, or there's always something that's way beyond your control. So single player games give the controls and puts all the onus on the players, not the enemies. So that is why I think single players are going to stick around, and that's why I think you'll love or enjoy Liza P. And I can't wait to see what comes up next. There is a release on October 2nd, so the day this episode is airing. Oh, no, sorry. Day after this episode's airing. October 3rd, my bad. Not 2nd. Scratch October shit. Next week, October 3rd, when this episode's airing right now, Gotham Knights comes out, and it is on Game Pass. Again, I'm going to play it. I'm going to stream it, and we're going to see how it plays and how it handles, because, again, this is a highly anticipated game, especially through WB Game Studios, along with Suicide Squad that got pushed back and delayed. These are two of the biggest games within like the DC universe that are supposed to be up there with the Batman Arkham trilogy. So we will see about that. So stay tuned for a game review of Gotham Knights. I'm going to play it for like a week and a half, and do an episode. I've been playing Liza P since it came out, and this is literally just a couple days before. This is October 1st, so literally almost 2 weeks of playing this. This game's fucking hard, to give it the best chance possible. So go check it out. Stay tuned for that. And yeah, that's really what I got for y'all. Again, game's amazing. Enemies are lackluster. Combat skill takes some getting used to. Key binding sucks. Remap it yourself. But overall, a great game. Still, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Most I'm willing to give it. Not worth the price point of $70. Wait for it to go on sale or get Game Pass. So, other than that, thank you for listening. We'll be back with another episode that will feature Roggle. For the game, again, game reviews will be mostly me on certain games, because I have more time and I enjoy a lot of games. He like specific games. No dashing on him. I know he's listening to this. But right. Anyways, rambling on. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of 2 Guys 1 Gamepad. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Don't forget to tune in on Thursday nights over on Twitch for Roggle and I to play games together, whether it's Call of Duty or a different game. And then all month long of October, it is 31 days of Halloween. So there'll be short content, meaning minute or less long videos, released on social media, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. So stay tuned for all that. Go check it out. Like, follow, and subscribe there to see all the additional content, because they will not be on podcast episodes. So that's all I got for you amazing people. Until next time, famous last words from Roggle. Bye, bitches.